You treat your body like a dumpster, Sarah. My husband sneered at me while sharing dinner with his ex-girlfriend. I watched him flirt with her, eating the food I had cooked in the home I paid for. That night, I packed a bag, grabbed our son, and slipped out the back door. He didn't even realize I was gone until his credit card got declined. Hi everyone. Thank you for being here to listen to my story today. Before we get into it, grab a warm cup of tea, get comfortable, and let me know in the comments what time of day you're watching this. If it's morning, drop an M. If it's afternoon, leave an A. And if it's evening, type E. Now let me take you back to how it all started. You know, Sarah, if you put even half the effort Tiffany does into yourself, maybe I wouldn't feel so embarrassed taking you to the gym with me. Those words hung heavy in the air, right over the roast chicken I had spent 3 hours preparing after pulling a 10-hour shift at work. My husband, Travis, sat across from me, swirling his red wine with that arrogant tilt of his head I used to mistake for confidence. Sitting right next to him was Tiffany, his ex-girlfriend and current fitness inspiration. She looked like she had just stepped off a magazine cover, picking daintily at a single piece of lettuce on her plate. I felt a hot flush creep up my neck, a mix of deep humiliation and sudden, sharp clarity. This wasn't just a casual jab. This was a deliberate attempt to tear down whatever self-esteem I had left. "Travis, please," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. I glanced at our 4-year-old son, Leo, who was happily playing with his peas, completely oblivious. Not in front of Leo. Tiffany let out a sharp, grating laugh. She placed her perfectly manicured hand on Travis's forearm, right in front of me in my own dining room. "Oh, don't be so sensitive, Sarah. Travis is just trying to motivate you. We were just saying how easy it is to let yourself go when you reach, well, your age. The metabolism just slows down, doesn't it?" I was 38, Tiffany was 30, Travis was 40, but in that moment they made me feel like an ancient relic they had dusted off just to mock. Travis laughed, leaning into her touch. "See, she gets it. Tiffany respects her body. She treats it like a temple. You treat yours like a dumpster, Sarah. I mean, look at what you're eating." He pointed his fork accusingly at the small piece of garlic bread on my plate. "Carbs at night? Seriously? No wonder none of your old clothes fit." I stared at my plate, then down at my hands. These were the hands that signed the mortgage papers for this house. The hands that paid for Travis's personal training marketing campaigns. The hands that wiped Leo's tears and cleaned every inch of this home, while Travis claimed he was too exhausted from his influencer aspirations to lift a finger. "I've been working all day, Travis," I said, my voice shaking but finding a new firm edge. "I'm hungry." "You're always hungry," he sneered. "That's the problem. Tiffany here ran 5 miles before breakfast. What did you do? Sit in your office chair and count money." "Someone has to make the money, Travis," I shot back. It was the first time in months I had actually defended myself. The room went dead silent. Travis's eyes narrowed. His ego was incredibly fragile and I had just bruised it. "Oh wow," he said, his voice dropping into a dangerous, mock-hurt tone. "Here we go again, playing the money card. Just because you bring home a paycheck doesn't make you the boss, Sarah. A real man wants a woman he can show off, not a bank account that eats too much." He turned to Tiffany, shaking his head. "See what I deal with every day. She thinks buying groceries gives her a pass to be lazy. Honestly, sometimes I don't know how I put up with it. Look at you, Tiff. You're glowing. Man, I miss the days of being with someone who actually cared about maintaining standards." Tiffany beamed, soaking in the admiration that should have belonged to his wife. "You deserve the best, Travis. You really do." I looked at them. I looked at my husband of 10 years, eating the food I bought and cooked, openly flirting with his ex, looking at me with pure disgust. In that exact second, something inside me didn't just break, it died. The version of me that desperately craved his approval, the insecure girl who felt lucky that a handsome personal trainer had married her, was gone. I stood up. "Where are you going?" Travis demanded. "We're not done, bring out the dessert." "If it's fruit, I might have a bite," Tiffany piped up. I didn't answer. I walked into the kitchen, but I didn't reach for the fruit bowl. My heart was hammering against my ribs, but my hands were completely steady. I walked right past the kitchen, down the hallway and into our bedroom. I pulled a suitcase out from the back of the closet, one I had bought 3 weeks ago. I hadn't admitted to myself then why I bought it, but I knew now. I packed the essentials, my laptop, my passport, my jewelry. Then I walked into Leo's room. He was rubbing his eyes sleepily as I gently scooped him up. "Mommy, SHH sweetie, we're going on an adventure," I whispered, wrapping him in his favorite blanket. I carried him out through the back door, bypassing the dining room where the laughter was getting louder. I could hear Travis making a joke about my wardrobe. I walked up to the kitchen counter one last time. I slipped off my wedding ring and placed it right on top of the pile of dirty dishes Travis had ignored for 3 days. Beside it, I laid down the authorized credit card I had let him use. I stepped out into the cold night air, buckled Leo into his car seat and started the engine. As I backed out of the driveway, I looked through the brightly lit window. Travis was pouring more wine, laughing, completely unaware that his ATM, his housekeeper, and his emotional punching bag had just walked out of his life. If you're listening to this and you've ever been made to feel small in your own home, please give this video a thumbs up and type the number 1 in the comments. Let me know I'm not alone and that you're with me on this journey. Your support gives me the strength to keep sharing. Type 1 now and let's keep going. The highway became a blur of orange streetlights and darkness. My hands gripped the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles turned white. In the rearview mirror, Leo was fast asleep, his soft breathing the only sound competing with the hum of the tires on the asphalt. I wasn't crying, which surprised me. I thought I would be a sobbing mess, but instead I felt a cold, sharp focus. It was the same analytical mindset I used when closing a major business deal or managing a financial crisis. I was in survival mode. As the miles piled up, putting distance between me and the house I paid for, my mind drifted back. I needed to understand how I had let things get this bad. How did Sarah, the CFO of a growing marketing firm, a woman who managed multi-million-dollar budgets, become someone who let a man humiliate her over a piece of garlic bread? It went back to who I was 10 years ago. I was 28, successful, but deeply insecure deep down. I had always been a plus-size girl, the smart one with a great personality who never got asked to prom. Then came Travis. He was a personal trainer, physically fit, incredibly charming, and for some reason he chose me. He made me feel special. He told me he loved my curves. I was so starved for that validation that I ignored every single red flag. I ignored the fact that he never had money when the dinner bill came. I ignored the fact that he forgot his wallet on our first 3 dates. I ignored that his training business was failing because he spent more time socializing than managing his books. I wanted the fairy tale. I wanted to be the wife of the handsome, popular guy, so I paid for it. I paid off his business debts before we were even engaged. I bought the house. I funded his lifestyle because I believed that, for someone like me, that was the price of admission for love. My phone buzzed in the passenger seat, snapping me out of my thoughts. The screen lit up with Travis's face, a photo I took of him during a beach vacation I had fully funded last year. I didn't answer. It buzzed again, and again. I glanced at the clock. It was nearly midnight. He wasn't calling to ask where I was. He wasn't calling to check if Leo was safe. I knew exactly why he was calling. I let it go to voicemail. Then a text popped up. Card declined at the bar. What did you do? Fix it now. This makes me look like an idiot in front of Tiffany. I let out a short, dry laugh. It was so ridiculous it was almost funny. He didn't even realize I had left. He probably thought I was sulking in the bedroom or trying to teach him a lesson by putting a temporary hold on the account. He had no idea I had already crossed state lines, driving toward my parents' house in Ohio. Another text. Sarah, stop playing games, authorize the charge. We're trying to order a bottle of champagne to celebrate Tiff's promotion. Don't be a jealous cow. I reached over and turned the phone completely off. The silence that filled the car was heavy, but incredibly peaceful. Mommy, Leo stirred in the back. Are we there yet? Almost, baby, I said, my voice a little raspy. Go back to sleep. Grandma and Grandpa are going to be so happy to see us. My parents, I hadn't told them everything. They knew Travis was difficult, but I had hidden the verbal put-downs, the financial drain, and the constant disrespect. I was too embarrassed to admit my picture-perfect life was a lie. I was ashamed to admit that my dad, a retired mechanic who worked grueling hours to put me through college, had been right about Travis from day one. He's a show horse, Sarah, my dad had told me at the wedding rehearsal. He looks nice, but he can't pull the plow. At 2:00 a.m. I pulled into my parents' driveway. Before I could even turn off the engine, the porch light flickered on. My mother must have felt it. Mothers always know. When she opened the front door and saw me standing there, holding a sleeping Leo, dragging a suitcase in the freezing winter air without even a coat, she didn't ask a single question. She didn't say, "I told you so." She just opened her arms. "I'm done, Mom," I whispered into her shoulder, finally letting the first tear fall. "I'm completely done." In the warmth of their kitchen, after Leo was tucked into the guest bed, the adrenaline began to fade. My dad sat at the table, his expression grim. "He doesn't know you're here?" Dad asked. "He doesn't even know I left the state," I said. "He thinks I'm in the other room, refusing to authorize his champagne." "Good," Dad said, his voice hard. "Let him think that. Tomorrow we get a lawyer, a real powerhouse, not some cheap Mal lawyer like the one Travis uses for traffic tickets." I nodded, but as I sat there sipping the hot cocoa my mom made, a cold realization settled in. Travis wasn't going to let me walk away easily. I was his livelihood. I was his lifestyle. When he realized the financial support was gone for good, he wouldn't be sad. He would lash out. The next morning I woke up to a nightmare, though not the kind I expected. I expected angry voicemails. I expected threats. Instead, I woke up to a calculated public smear campaign. My phone, which I had turned back on to contact my office, was blowing up with notifications. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, everything was going off. "Sarah, you need to look at this," my friend Jessica texted me. "Don't reply, just watch." I opened Instagram. Travis had gone live an hour ago. The title of the video was, "My wife took our son, a father's heartbreak." My hands shook as I pressed play. Travis was sitting in Leo's empty bedroom, holding Leo's favorite teddy bear. He looked disheveled, his eyes red, a flawless performance. "I don't know where they are," he choked out, wiping away a theatrical tear. "I came home from a business dinner, just a quiet dinner with an old colleague, and she was gone. Sarah's been struggling with her mental health for a while now. She's been paranoid, jealous, imagining things. I tried to help her. I tried to support her. But last night she just snapped because I had a female colleague over. She took my son. I just want my boy back. Please, if anyone sees her, let me know." The comments were scrolling by so fast I could barely read them. "Oh my God, poor Travis. Women are crazy. Praying for you, brother. Call the police on her." Then I saw a pinned comment from Tiffany. "I was there, guys. She was acting completely erratic. It was terrifying. We just want Leo safe." I felt physically sick. Mental health struggles, business dinner. He was rewriting reality in real time. Then my phone rang. It was my mother-in-law, Linda. I made the mistake of answering, thinking she might be worried about her grandson. "What have you done?" Linda shrieked before I could even say hello. "Travis is a wreck. He says you took Leo in the middle of the night. You are a sick, jealous woman, Sarah. You've always been jealous of him because he's handsome and everyone loves him, and you're just... you." "Linda, he was humiliating me," I said, trying to keep my voice level. "He was comparing me to his ex-girlfriend while I cooked for them. He is lying about everything." "Oh, save it," she snapped. "Travis told me you're imagining things again. He says you haven't been taking your medication." "I don't have medication, Linda. I've never been on medication," I yelled, losing my temper. "He's lying to everyone." "Bring my grandson back, or we are reporting this as a kidnapping," she hissed. "If you're so insecure that you can't handle your husband having a social life, you don't deserve to be a mother." I hung up. I was shaking so hard the phone clattered onto the kitchen table. My dad picked it up. He looked at the screen, then at me. "Kidnapping? He's accusing you of taking your own child." "He's building a narrative," I said, my CFO brain finally kicking in through the panic. "He knows I'm the main earner. He knows the house is in my name. He's setting up a custody battle, positioning himself as the victim and me as unstable. He wants to prove I'm unfit so he can get full custody, and with that, child support." "He doesn't want Leo," my mom said softly, looking out the window where Leo was happily helping my dad fill the bird feeder. "He's never changed a diaper in his life. He wants the financial support." "Exactly," I said, "and that's why I'm not hiding anymore." I walked to the window. Watching Leo laugh as a bird landed on the feeder gave me a sudden surge of strength. Travis had underestimated one major thing. He thought I was just the insecure, quiet wife who paid the bills. He forgot that I was a CFO. I deal with aggressive corporate takeovers for a living. I know how to document and prove everything. "I'm not going back," I told my parents, "and I'm not letting him control this narrative." I opened my laptop. It was time to stop crying and start auditing. If Travis wanted a battle, he was going to get one, but while he was fighting with lies, I was going to fight with receipts. I logged into our joint bank accounts. What I found made the blood drain from my face. It was worse than I thought, much, much worse. The office of Mr. Henderson, the divorce attorney my dad recommended, smelled of old leather and expensive cologne. It was a comforting smell of order and law, but the documents spread across his mahogany desk were anything but orderly. "Sarah," Mr. Henderson said, adjusting his glasses, "I've gone over the preliminary financial data you sent. We have a serious issue." I gripped my purse tightly. I know he spent too much. I know the credit cards are maxed out. I was prepared to pay off the debt just to get away from him. "It's not just credit card debt," Mr. Henderson said grimly. He slid a piece of paper across the desk. "Were you aware of a withdrawal from your retirement account 3 months ago?" I frowned. "That's impossible. My retirement fund is locked. Any early withdrawal requires my signature." "Exactly," he said, pointing to the signature at the bottom of a $50,000 withdrawal form. "Is this your signature?" I stared at the cursive writing. It looked like mine. It was a very good imitation, but I had never signed it. "No," I whispered. "I didn't sign that. Where did the money go?" "It was transferred to a private account under Travis's name, and then immediately moved to a cryptocurrency platform," Mr. Henderson explained. "From what we can track, it's gone. The assets he bought crashed last month. He lost almost all of it." My retirement, the money I had been saving since I was 22, $50,000 gone because Travis thought he was a financial genius. "He forged my signature," I said, anger rising in my chest like a physical weight. "That's a major crime, right?" "It's fraud," Mr. Henderson confirmed. "But there's more." He slid another stack of papers over. "You mentioned this woman, Tiffany, the fitness inspiration." "Yes." "We had an investigator run a quick check on Travis's spending habits," Mr. Henderson said. "Look at these transactions from your joint checking account over the last 2 years. They were marked as marketing expenses for his gym." I looked at the list. Luxury boutiques, high-end spas, travel agencies, Sephora. "These aren't gym advertisements," I said, my voice trembling. "No," we cross-referenced the dates. The same day he spent $500 at a luxury lingerie store, Tiffany posted a photo on Instagram thanking her secret admirer. The weekend he charged $2,000 for a business trip to Miami. Tiffany posted photos from a Miami hotel room. I felt sick to my stomach. I had been paying for his affair for 2 whole years. While I was working late, eating cold takeout at my desk, and missing Leo's bedtime just to secure the promotion to keep us afloat, Travis was using my money to pamper his ex-girlfriend. He marked them as business expenses so I wouldn't question them during my monthly audits, I said, realizing the truth. I just saw gym marketing and let it go. I trusted him. "He's been systematically taking advantage of you," Mr. Henderson said. "This isn't just a bad husband, Sarah. This is a fraudster." I leaned back in my chair, my head spinning. I thought about the dinner last night, the way he compared me to her. "Tiffany respects her body. You treat yours like a dumpster." Of course she looked great. She was living off my salary. She had time for spas and workouts because she didn't have to work. Her job was being my husband's companion, and I was the one paying her salary. "I want to take legal action," I said, a deadly calm taking over. "I want to report the forgery. I want full custody. And I want him out of my house with nothing but the clothes on his back." "We can do that," Mr. Henderson said. "But he's going to play dirty. He's already positioning himself as the victim online. Before we take legal action, we need to cut off his resources. We need to make sure that when he reaches for financial support, he finds absolutely nothing." "His resources." "The money," Mr. Henderson said. "He can't fight a custody battle without a lawyer. He can't get a lawyer without money. And right now, legally speaking, all the money is yours." I nodded. A plan began to take shape in my head. Travis loved his toys. He loved his image. He loved pretending to be a wealthy, successful entrepreneur. "He drives a Range Rover," I said. "The lease is in my name. I got it for him for his birthday last year because he said it fit the gym's brand." "If it's in your name," Mr. Henderson smiled, "then it's your car. You can do whatever you want with it." "What about the utilities at the house, also in your name?" "Everything is in my name," I said. The internet, the cable, the electricity, the water. Then I suggest, Mr. Henderson said, closing his folder, we start cancelling some services. On the drive back to my parents' house, one detail kept nagging at me. Tiffany. Why did she look so familiar? Not just from dinner, but from before. Travis had introduced her as an old friend from high school, but looking at the timeline of the marketing expenses, something didn't add up. I pulled over at a rest stop and opened my laptop. This time I didn't look at the bank accounts. I opened my old cloud storage. I dug through folders from 3 years ago, back when I was still trying to help Travis get his gym off the ground. I found a folder labeled Intern Applicants. I clicked through the PDFs until I froze. There she was, Tiffany Miller, a resume from 3 years ago. I remembered now. She had applied for a marketing internship at my firm. I had interviewed her. She was sweet, eager, and down on her luck. She told me she wanted to get into the fitness industry but needed a break. I was the one who told her, my husband runs a gym, he needs help with social media. Why don't you go talk to him? I'll put in a good word. I gasped, covering my mouth with my hand. I was the one who introduced them. I scrolled through my old texts with Travis from that year. Me, hey babe, sent that girl Tiffany your way. She's young but seems sharp, be nice to her. Travis, thanks babe, she's a bit green but I can mold her. I'll give her a shot. Mold her, the phrasing made my skin crawl. I kept digging. I opened my old email outbox. I found emails where I had forwarded Tiffany articles on social media strategy and how to build a brand. In a way, I had mentored her. I had wanted to help another woman succeed. And how did she repay me? By sleeping with my husband, by letting me buy her designer bags, by sitting at my dining table, eating my food and laughing when my husband called me fat. The betrayal strung worse than the financial theft. Money was just numbers. This was personal. This was a violation of basic human decency. I had opened the door to my life and she had walked in and set it on fire. My phone buzzed. It was a notification from our home security app. I hadn't cut the internet yet. Mr. Henderson told me to wait until we were ready to act. I opened the camera feed. The living room camera showed Travis and Tiffany sitting on my sofa. They were drinking my wine. I turned up the volume on my phone to listen. She's not coming back tonight, Travis was saying, his feet propped up on the coffee table. I think she really went to her parents' place. Thank goodness, Tiffany laughed. God, this place feels so much better without her negative energy. But Trav, what about the money situation? Her card was declined yesterday. Don't worry about it. Travis waved his hand dismissively. She'll cave, she always does. Sarah is desperate for my attention. I just need to ignore her for a few days, let her stew in her insecurities. She'll come crawling back to apologize, probably buy me a new watch to make up for it. You really think so? I know so, Travis smirked. She thinks she's smart because she has a good job, but emotionally she's pathetic. She needs me to validate her existence. Without me, she's just a lonely, overweight, middle-aged woman. I hold all the cards, Tiff. We just have to wait. I hope so, Tiffany said, looking around, because I really love this house. We should repaint this living room, though. That beige is hideous. Once the divorce is settled, Travis said, taking a sip of wine, I'll get the house. I'll claim I need it to provide stability for Leo. The courts always favor the parents staying in the home. We'll paint it whatever color you want, babe. I stared at the screen. My hands had stopped shaking. My heart rate was steady. A cold, absolute calm washed over me. You don't hold all the cards, Travis, I whispered to the screen. You don't even know what game we're playing. I closed the app, picked up my phone, and dialed the local utility company. Hello, I said, my voice clear and professional. I'd like to schedule an immediate shut-off of all services at 1402 Oak Street. Yes, today, right now. And please cancel the internet subscription there as well. Next, I dialed the towing company Mr. Henderson had recommended. Yes, there is a Range Rover registered in my name located at 1402 Oak Street. I have the spare key. I'd like you to tow it and deliver it to the dealership to be sold. Yes, immediately. I started my car. It was time to make a move. My timing was absolutely perfect. I knew Travis's schedule better than he did. Every Tuesday at 5:00 p.m., he did his live fitness Q&A on Instagram. It was his main way of pretending he had a job. He would sit in his home studio, which I had paid to soundproof, answering questions from bot accounts and asking for donations. I sat in my parents' living room, watching his live stream on my laptop. "Hey guys, welcome back to the Travis Zone," he said, flexing his biceps for the camera. He looked confident and self-satisfied. "Today we're talking about mental toughness, how to keep pushing when people try to bring you down." He was clearly making passive-aggressive references to me. "You know, sometimes you have toxic people in your life who just don't understand the grind," he lectured. "They want to drag you down with their negative energy. You have to cut them out." Suddenly the video froze. The loading wheel began to spin. I smiled. The home internet had just been disconnected. I refreshed the page. He came back online, but now he was holding his phone, clearly using cellular data. The quality was pixelated. "Sorry about that, guys, had a little technical glitch," he muttered, annoyed. "The Wi-Fi just dropped. Weird." Then in the background of his video I heard a sound, a loud, rhythmic beeping. Beep, 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 the sound of a heavy truck backing up. Travis looked toward the window. "What is that?" He stood up and walked out of the camera frame, but he forgot to turn off the live stream. I could hear his voice getting distant, then turning into a shout. Hey, what are you doing? Don't touch that." I switched to the security camera app on my phone. The indoor cameras were offline because the internet was cut, but the doorbell camera had a battery backup and ran on cellular data. I watched the grainy feed. A massive flatbed tow truck was parked in the driveway. A large man in overalls was hooking chains to the pristine white Range Rover. Travis ran out of the front door, still holding his phone, still broadcasting to his viewers. "Get away from my car," he screamed. "That's theft, I'm calling the police." The tow truck driver didn't even look up. "Just doing my job, man. Owner ordered a repossession and sale." "I am the owner," Travis yelled, his face turning purple. "Paperwork says Sarah Jenkins," the driver said, tightening the winch. "Are you Sarah?" "She's my wife, that's marital property." "Take it up with the judge, pal. I've got an order to execute." The driver hopped into the cab and started the lift. Travis actually chased after the truck, as his beloved status symbol was hauled down the street. He looked utterly ridiculous chasing a tow truck in his tight workout shorts, yelling at the air. My phone buzzed. It was a text from Travis. UB*TCH, bring my car back. I didn't reply. Then another text. The power just went out, and the water, what did you do? I finally typed out a response. I cut out the negative energy in my life, Travis, just like you said on your live stream. Since you're a big, strong, independent man who doesn't need a lazy wife, I'm sure you can handle the bills yourself. Oh, and I've frozen the joint account pending a fraud investigation into my missing retirement funds. Have fun with the grind. Period. I hit send. 10 seconds later, my phone rang. I declined the call. I turned to my dad, who was standing behind me watching, a look of pure satisfaction on his face. He's going to come looking for you, Dad warned, though he was smiling. Let him, I said. He has no car, no money, and no internet. How's he going to get here? Uber. He can't afford it. But I underestimated how desperate Travis could get. 3 hours later, I received a call from Mr. Henderson. Sarah, we have a problem. His voice was serious. Travis's lawyer, well, apparently some attorney he managed to scrape together, just filed an emergency motion. They're claiming he has the right to occupy the residence. He can claim whatever he wants. It's my house, I said. It's more than that, Mr. Henderson hesitated. He produced a document, a quitclaim deed. It appears to show that you transferred 50% ownership of the property to him 6 months ago. I froze. I never signed anything like that. It has your signature, Sarah, and it's notarized. My blood ran cold. He forged it just like the retirement check. We know that, Mr. Henderson said. But until we prove the forgery in court, he has a legal right to stay in that house. And worse, he's applying for an emergency order to force you to return marital assets, meaning the money, to maintain the status quo. Travis wasn't just a parasite. He was committing serious fraud, and he had just played a card I didn't see coming. The sheer nerve of it. I paced around my parents' kitchen, feeling the walls closing in again. He forged a deed. How foolish could he be? Did he really think forensic experts wouldn't notice? He's desperate, Mr. Henderson said over the speakerphone. And desperate people take massive, foolish risks. He's counting on you settling. He thinks if he makes this messy enough, you'll just pay him to go away. I would rather live in a cardboard box than give that man another dime, I said through gritted teeth. Good, Mr. Henderson said. Now let's look at this deed. What's the date on the signature? He sent over a copy, and I opened the email attachment on my laptop. It's dated June 15th of last year. I stared at the date. June 15th. Why did that date sound so familiar? I began scrolling through my digital calendar. June 15th. I started laughing. It was a loud, hysterical laugh that actually made my mom drop her dish towel right onto the floor. Sarah, are you okay? I've never been better, Mom, I said, laughing into the phone. Mr. Henderson, are you still there? I'm here. On June 15th of last year, I wasn't even in the country, I said triumphantly. I was in London attending the Global Marketing Summit. I have the entry and exit stamps in my passport. I have the flight records. I even have photos of myself standing right in front of Big Ben at the exact time this document was supposedly signed and notarized back in Ohio. There was a brief silence on the other end, followed by the sound of furious typing. Well, Mr. Henderson's voice finally relaxed. That is the absolute end of his case. Not only is this deed completely invalid, but he just committed perjury and submitted fraudulent evidence to a court of law. As for the notary who stamped it, if they were in on this, they're looking at losing their license and potentially facing jail time. Who is the notary? I zoomed in on the notary seal on my screen to take a closer look. Jennifer Wilson. The name registered and a wave of recognition hit me. I know her. She's Tiffany's cousin. She works at the bank downtown. A conspiracy, Mr. Henderson said. Travis, Tiffany, and the cousin, they actively plan to take your house. A cold shiver ran down my spine. This wasn't just Travis acting out of desperation. This was a calculated, premeditated plot. They had been planning to take this house from me for months, maybe even longer. They were just waiting for the right moment to file the paperwork, and my sudden departure forced their hand early. What do we do now? I asked. We let him think he's won for about 24 hours, Mr. Henderson plotted. Let him keep his guard down. Then we file our motion with the passport evidence. Sarah, we aren't just getting him out of your house. We are going to make sure he faces the full legal consequences. We hung up the phone. I felt a surge of strength running through me. I held the winning card. But the emotional weight of it all was getting heavier. How had I shared a bed for 10 years with a man capable of doing this? How had I let him hold my son? That night a severe storm rolled in. Thunder rattled the windows of the farmhouse. Leo was terrified, so I lay down in bed with him, gently stroking his hair. Mommy, where'd Daddy? He asked in the dark. My heart broke. Daddy is taking some time to himself, sweetie. He's made some very poor decisions. Is he coming here? No, I said firmly. He's not coming here. Just then the dogs downstairs started barking wildly, ferocious, angry barks. I heard a car door slam outside, followed by a heavy, aggressive pounding on the front door. My heart jumped into my throat. Was it him? Did he get another car? Was he drunk? I slipped out of bed and rushed to the window. I saw a beat-up sedan parked in the driveway. A figure was standing on the porch, slamming their fist against the door. My dad was already downstairs. I heard the lock turn. I grabbed a baseball bat from the corner of the hallway, an old habit of my dad's to keep one in every room, and ran to the top of the stairs. Who is it? I heard my dad shout. It's me, Frank, a voice called back. It was rough, tired, and strained. Frank, my father-in-law, Travis's dad. I lowered the bat. Frank and I had always been distant. He was a quiet man, beaten down by life and by his wife, Linda, who enabled Travis's worst behaviors. Frank rarely spoke up. I walked down the stairs. My dad had already opened the door. Frank stood there, completely drenched from the rain, holding a thick manila envelope. He looked 10 years older than the last time I saw him. Frank, I asked, what are you doing here? Did Travis send you? Frank looked up at me, his eyes filled with deep shame. He shook his head. No, Frank said, his voice raspy. He doesn't know I'm here. If Linda found out, she'd never let me hear the end of it. He stepped inside, water dripping onto the rug. He held out the envelope to me. I heard about what he's saying online, Frank said. About the kidnapping, and I know about the money. I know exactly what kind of man he is, Sarah. You do? I do, because he did the exact same things to us first, Frank whispered. 10 years ago, before he met you. What is this? I took the envelope. It was heavy. Evidence, Frank said. Inside are the records of his gambling debts from his 20s. I had to take out a second mortgage on my own home to clear those debts. And his medical evaluation records are in there too. Medical records. From when we forced him to see a specialist, Frank said. The diagnosis, narcissistic personality disorder, a pathological liar. Frank looked at me, tears mixing with the rain on his face. I can't let him do to Leo what he did to us. I can't let him destroy you, Sarah. You were the only good thing that ever happened to him. I led Frank into the kitchen and sat him down. My mom poured him a cup of hot coffee, her face full of sympathy. I sat across from him, the manila envelope resting between us like an unexploded bomb. I thought you were on his side, I admitted. Linda called me. She threatened to report me for kidnapping. Linda is completely blind, Frank sighed, cradling the mug in his worn hands. She has a total blind spot when it comes to Travis. He can do no wrong in her eyes. She thinks the world has been unfair to him. She believes his gym failed because of the economy, not because he never bothered to show up and run it. She thinks his debts are just bad luck. And you? I asked. I knew, Frank said. I've always known. I tried to warn you in my own way at the rehearsal dinner. Remember, he's a show horse, Sarah, but he can't pull the plough. I remembered. At the time, I thought he was just being a grumpy old man. I hadn't realized he was trying to give me a vital warning. Tell me about the gambling, I said, opening the envelope. Inside were copies of bank statements from 12 years ago, showing thousands of dollars withdrawn, alongside letters from private lenders. He got heavily into sports betting, Frank explained. Deep, he stole my credit cards. He took his grandmother's jewelry. We nearly lost our home. We paid it off to keep him out of jail. We thought if we saved him, he would change. They never change, I said bitterly. They just look for new targets. And you were the new target, Frank nodded. When he met you and we saw how successful you were, I'm ashamed to say I felt a sense of relief. I thought finally someone else can carry this burden. I'm so sorry, Sarah. To save ourselves, we threw you to the wolves. It was a difficult truth to hear, but looking at this broken man, I couldn't find it in myself to hate him. He was a victim of Travis's behavior too. What about these medical records? I pulled out a thin document. After the theft, we made him see an expert, Frank said. Dr. Evans. He diagnosed Travis with severe narcissistic personality disorder. He completely lacks empathy. He views people solely as tools to be used. The doctor said without intensive, lifelong therapy, he would never change. Travis went to 3 sessions, charmed the receptionist, and never went back. I read through the doctor's notes. Patient exhibits grandiose delusions, manipulative behavior, inability to accept fault, and presents a high risk of financial exploitation of close relatives. It felt like reading a biography of my own marriage. Why are you giving this to me now? I asked. This will completely ruin his standing in court. Because of Leo, Frank said, his voice cracking. Travis called me today. He wanted money for a lawyer, he said. He said he was going to get full custody of Leo. He told me he was going to use the child support payments to buy a new car. Frank looked up, his eyes suddenly fierce. He called his own son a paycheck. That's my grandson. I won't let Leo be raised by a monster. I won't let Leo turn into what Travis became. I reached across the table and squeezed Frank's hand. Thank you, Frank, this changes everything. With the passport proving his forged signature, the bank records proving financial fraud, and now Frank's evidence of his history and pattern of behavior, I didn't just have a defense anymore. I had everything I needed to end this. Are you willing to testify? I asked. If it comes to that, are you willing to stand up in court against your own son? Frank took a deep breath. He looked terrified, but then he looked at a photo of Leo stuck to my parents' refrigerator. Yes, he said, it's time I stopped protecting him. The next morning, armed with this new evidence, Mr. Henderson filed an emergency motion to throw out Travis's claim to the property and requested temporary full custody based on the clear financial and emotional harm. We attached the passport photos proving his forgery. We attached Frank's sworn affidavit. The court date was set for 3 days later. Of course, Travis knew nothing about Frank's visit. He had no idea about the passport alibi. He was still sitting in my dark, powerless house, posting updates on social media about how he was fighting the system. I was done hiding and I was done crying. 3 days later, I walked into the courthouse. I wore my sharpest navy blue suit and my highest heels. I no longer looked like the exhausted, terrified woman who had fled in the dead of night. I looked like the CEO of my own life. Travis arrived with his lawyer. He looked incredibly worn out. His clothes were wrinkled and unironed because he didn't have a wife to do his laundry anymore. But when he saw me, he still managed a smirk. "Ready to give up, Sarah?" he whispered as I walked past him. "Just write me a check and I'll let you see Leo on weekends." I didn't stop. I didn't even look at him. "Save your breath, Travis," I said to the air in front of me. "You're going to need it to explain to the judge why you forged legal documents." His face instantly went pale. The courtroom doors opened, and it was time. The courtroom was smaller than I imagined, smelling of floor wax and nervous tension. My heart was pounding, but I forced my face into a calm, indifferent mask. I sat next to Mr. Henderson, my hands neatly folded. Across the aisle, Travis sat with his attorney, a nervous-looking man in an ill-fitting grey suit. Travis still looked confident, though. He smirked at me and mouthed the words, "It's over." He genuinely believed he had won. He believed that forged quitclaim deed was his golden ticket to half of my assets and my home. The judge was a stern woman with reading glasses resting on the tip of her nose. She shuffled the papers in front of her. "We are here today for an emergency hearing regarding the residence and custody of the minor child, Leo," the judge stated. "Mr. Miller, you claim Ms. Jenkins abandoned the marital home, and you are asserting a 50% claim on the property based on a quitclaim deed signed in June of last year." "Yes, Your Honor," Travis's lawyer stood up, his voice thin. "My client claims Ms. Jenkins is unstable and is attempting to financially ruin him by cutting off the utilities to a home he legally owns." Travis nodded solemnly, putting on his best wronged victim face. "I just want to provide a stable home for my son, Your Honor," he said, pointing at me. "She disappeared in the middle of the night. Who does that?" The judge turned to Mr. Henderson. "Counsel." Mr. Henderson rose slowly. He didn't look at Travis. He looked directly at the judge. "Your Honor, we challenge the validity of the document presented by the defendant. In fact, we have submitted evidence today that proves beyond any doubt that this quitclaim deed is a complete forgery." Travis let out a short, sharp scoff. "She's lying," he blurted out. "She signed it right at the kitchen table." "Silence," the judge snapped. Mr. Henderson stepped forward, handing over a thick folder. "The deed is dated June 15th of last year, notarized here in Ohio. However, Your Honor, if you look at Exhibit A, you will find passport pages with entry and exit stamps, along with flight manifests." The judge opened the folder. The room was absolutely silent, save for the rustle of turning pages. "On June 15th, Mr. Henderson continued, his voice clear and resonant, "Ms. Jenkins was in London, England, attending a business conference. We have geotagged photos from her phone, hotel receipts and credit card transactions, showing she purchased a coffee at Heathrow Airport at the exact time this document was supposedly being signed and notarized in Ohio." I watched Travis's face. His smug grin didn't just fade, it evaporated. His skin turned a sickly shade of grey. He leaned over to his lawyer, whispering frantically. His lawyer took one look at the documents, looked at Travis and pulled his chair slightly away, as if Travis had something contagious. "Mr. Miller," the judge said, lowering her glasses and dropping her voice to a terrifying register, "can you explain how your wife signed a document in Ohio while physically being in the United Kingdom?" She," Travis stammered. He looked around the room, desperate. "Maybe I got the date wrong. Yes, that's it. We signed it on a different day." "The notary stamp is dated June 15th, the judge said, her eyes narrowing. "Are you suggesting the notary also made a mistake, or are you admitting to fraud in my courtroom?" "It's a mistake," Travis shouted, standing up. "She's trying to set me up. She must have manipulated the flight records." "Sit down," the judge commanded. "Your Honor, there is more," Mr. Henderson added. "We have also submitted a sworn affidavit from Mr. Frank Miller, the defendant's father." Travis froze, looking toward the door as if expecting his father to walk in. Mr. Frank Miller confirms his son's history of forgery and financial exploitation, Mr. Henderson said. And he is prepared to testify that his son called him 2 days ago, stating his intention to use the child solely as a financial resource. Travis looked like he had been kicked in the stomach. He slumped back into his chair. He knew Frank and he knew his father never lied. The judge looked at Travis with pure disgust. "I am granting the emergency protective order," she ruled, slamming her gavel. "Mr. Miller, you are to vacate the premises at 1402 Oak Street immediately. You are stripped of any access to marital funds. As for custody, pending a full investigation into this forgery, which I will be personally referring to the district attorney, you are to have absolutely zero contact with the child." "No contact," Travis yelled. "You can't do that, he's my son." "You should have thought of that before committing a major crime to take his mother's home," the judge said coldly. "Next case." As the bailiff stepped forward to escort us out, Travis lunged toward me, not to strike me but to grab my arm. "Sarah, wait." "Sarah, please," he begged, his eyes wide and watery. "I didn't mean it, it was Tiffany. She pushed me to do it. She said we needed security. I'm sorry, don't let them take me." I took a step back and smoothed my jacket. I looked at him, really looked at him, and saw nothing but a pathetic stranger. "You made your choices, Travis," I said calmly. "Enjoy the consequences." I walked out of the courtroom, leaving him pleading with his attorney, who was already packing up his briefcase to leave. The victory in court was sweet, but I knew the battle wasn't entirely over. Travis was a narcissist, and when they lose control, they try to destroy your reputation. He had already spread the rumor that I was unstable, and despite the court ruling, his online followers didn't know the truth. They still thought of me as the bad guy. I sat in my parents' kitchen, sipping tea. "I need to clear my name," I told my mom. "Not for me, but for Leo. One day he's going to look this up online. I don't want him finding videos of his father calling me a kidnapper." "How?" Mom asked. "Are you going to make a video online?" "No," I smiled. "I'm going to let the facts speak for themselves." I didn't go on a rant, and I didn't cry on camera. Instead, I contacted a local news outlet that had previously covered Travis's viral, heartbroken dad story. I gave them an exclusive look at the truth behind the viral video. I handed over everything: a redacted copy of the court order showing the forgery, the receipts for Tiffany's lingerie and spa days paid for under gym marketing, and his own father's affidavit. 2 days later, the article was published. The headline was brutal. "Viral heartbroken dad exposed. Forged deeds, stolen retirement, and secret affairs." The internet is a fickle thing. It loves a victim, but it loves exposing a villain even more. Almost instantly, the tide turned. The comments on Travis's Instagram went from "stay strong, brother," to "you stole your wife's retirement," fraud, and justice for Sarah. But the real blow was dealt to Tiffany. I hadn't forgotten about her. She was an aspiring influencer, trying to build a brand around wellness and positivity. I posted an update on my own neglected Facebook page, tagging the businesses associated with those marketing expenses. In case anyone was wondering where my savings went, it turns out my husband's business trips to Miami were actually funding Tiffany Miller's vacation content. Here are the matching dates and receipts. Enjoy the truth. The internet detectives handled the rest. They dug up Tiffany's old posts thanking her mystery man and matched them to the dates I paid Travis's credit card bills. They found photos of the designer bags she had bought using my funds. Tiffany's brand collapsed overnight. Several sponsorships with a local wellness brand and a yoga gear company were publicly cancelled. Her comment section became a battleground of people calling her out. I watched it all unfold from the safety of my parents' porch. It wasn't just revenge, it was a necessary correction. My phone buzzed with a text from a number I didn't have saved but recognized. "Tiffany, you ruined my life. I can't even go to the gym without people staring at me. Are you happy now, you bitter old woman?" I didn't feel angry. I felt incredibly empowered. I replied, "I didn't ruin your life, Tiffany. I just stopped paying for it. If you want to succeed, try getting a job instead of taking someone else's husband." I blocked the number. Meanwhile, Travis was in freefall. With the court-ordered eviction, he had 24 hours to pack his things and leave my house. I hired a security team to supervise the move because I didn't trust him not to damage the property. My neighbor, Mrs. Gable, called to give me a play-by-play. "Oh, Sarah, it's quite a scene," she whispered over the phone. "He's throwing clothes into garbage bags, he's crying on the lawn, and oh my goodness, is that Tiffany?" "She's there?" I asked. "She just pulled up," Mrs. Gable reported. "She's screaming at him. She just threw a protein shake at him. She got back in her car and drove off, leaving him there." I closed my eyes and took a long, deep breath. Tiffany had realized the cash flow was gone. Travis was now homeless, broke, and facing legal charges. He was of no use to her anymore. The love of his life, the woman he had humiliated me for, abandoned him the second the credit card stopped working. Travis was truly alone now. And for the first time in 10 years, so was I, but his loneliness was a prison, while mine felt like a wide-open, beautiful sky. 2 weeks passed. The silence from Travis was absolute, and it was wonderful. Mr. Henderson told me Travis had moved back in with his mother, Linda. Apparently, Frank had threatened to leave Linda if she gave Travis a single penny. So Travis was living in their unfinished basement, sleeping on an old camp cot. It was quite a fall from the master suite of the house I had bought. I went back to work. My colleagues were incredibly supportive. They had seen the news. I didn't get pity, I got respect. I was the woman who fought back. I was the CFO who audited her cheating husband and won. On a rainy Tuesday evening, my phone rang. It was an unknown number. I usually don't answer, but intuition told me to pick up. "Hello, Sarah," the voice was slurred, thick and emotional. It was Travis. "You shouldn't be calling me Travis," I said, hitting the record button on my phone. "This is a violation of the protective order." I just wanted to ask," he hiccuped. "Do you remember our honeymoon, in Cabo, the sunsets?" "I remember I paid for it," I said coldly. "And I remember you flirting with the bartender the entire time." "I miss you, Sarah," he sobbed, a messy, wet sound. "My mom is driving me crazy. The basement smells like mold. I don't have my supplements. I'm losing all my muscle, Sarah. I look terrible." "You called me to talk about your muscles," I asked in disbelief. "You forged a deed to steal my home, and now you're crying about your protein powder." "It was Tiffany," he wailed. "She twisted my head around. She said I deserved better. She used me, Sarah. She dumped me. She blocked me on everything. She's dating some 60-year-old guy who owns a car dealership now. She never loved me." "And you never loved me," I said. I do. You're my wife. Look, I'm sorry, okay?" I said, "I'm sorry. Can't you just drop the charges? Can't I just come home? I'll cook, I'll clean, I promise." I listened to him beg. A month ago, this would have torn me apart. I might have thought maybe he can change. Maybe he's hurting. But now, all I heard was a parasite looking for a new host. "Travis," I said, my voice completely flat. "You're not sorry you hurt me. You're sorry you're uncomfortable. You're sorry you're broke. You're sorry that for the first time in 40 years you have to face the consequences of your actions." "Don't do this," he growled, the anger slipping through his tears. "You owe me. I gave you the best years of my life. Who else is going to want you? You're almost 40, you're damaged goods." And there it was, the mask slipped completely. "I'd rather be damaged and free than perfect and owned by you," I said. "Goodbye, Travis. My lawyer will be passing this recording to the judge. That's another violation for you. Enjoy the basement." I hung up. I walked into the living room, where Leo was building a Lego castle with my dad. Leo looked up, smiling. "Look, Mommy, I built a fortress." "It's beautiful, sweetie," I said, kissing his head. "It keeps the bad guys out," Leo said seriously. "Yes," I agreed, "it certainly does." But the trouble wasn't quite over. Travis was desperate, and as I learned, a desperate narcissist can be highly unpredictable. He knew he couldn't charm his way back. And he knew he couldn't bully me financially. So he targeted the one thing I couldn't simply block or divorce, my son. Travis launched a new campaign. Since he couldn't get money from me, he decided to use the legal system to harass me. He filed a motion for reunification therapy. He claimed he was a reformed man, said he was sober now, which was a complete lie, and argued that denying him access to his son was parental alienation. Frustratingly, the family court system is designed to encourage family unity. Despite the forgery and fraud, the judge ruled that Travis had a right to see his son under strictly supervised conditions. "It's standard procedure," Mr. Henderson warned me. Unless he is a physical threat to the child, the courts will try to facilitate a relationship. We have to allow these supervised visits. I felt a knot of dread tighten in my stomach. I didn't want that man anywhere near my son, but I had to follow the law. Fine, I said, but I want the strictest supervisor present and I want the sessions recorded. The first supervised visit was scheduled at a neutral family centre. It was a sterile building with fluorescent lights and toys that looked like they had been chewed on by 1,000 anxious children. I wasn't allowed in the room. I had to watch from behind a one-way mirror with the court-appointed supervisor, a stern woman named Mrs. Higgins. Travis arrived 10 minutes late. He was clean-shaven, wearing a collared shirt that looked borrowed from his dad, and carrying a brand-new, unopened toy truck. He looked like he was playing the role of good dad in a movie. Leo sat at a small table watching the door. When Travis walked in, Leo didn't run to him. He shrank back into his chair. "Hey, buddy," Travis said, his voice way too loud for the small room. "Daddy's here, look what I got you." He slid the truck toward Leo. "A monster truck, cool, right?" Leo touched the box tentatively. "Thank you." "Did you miss Daddy?" Travis asked immediately, pulling up a chair and sitting far too close. "I missed you so much. Mommy took you away so fast, didn't she?" Mrs. Higgins pressed the intercom button. "Mr. Miller, please refrain from discussing the litigation or criticizing the mother. Keep the conversation neutral." Travis glared at the mirror, knowing I was behind it. He forced the smile back onto his face. "Right, sorry, so Leo, have you been eating well? Is Mommy feeding you all those carbs? You look a little soft." My blood boiled. He was criticizing a 4-year-old's appearance. "I like Mommy's food," Leo whispered. "We made pancakes." "Pancakes," Travis scoffed. "Just sugar. When you come live with Daddy, we'll get you back in shape. We're going to run laps, okay?" Leo looked down at his shoes. "I don't want to run laps." "Of course you do. You want to be strong like Daddy, right? You don't want to be weak." Travis reached out and squeezed Leo's arm. "See this? No muscle. We need to work on this." Leo pulled his arm away. "No." I gripped the edge of the table in the observation room. "He's upsetting him," I whispered. "He's emotionally distressing him." "His behavior is borderline," Mrs. Higgins said, knotting it down on her clipboard. "But not enough to terminate the visit just yet." Then I saw Travis reach into his pocket. He pulled out a chocolate bar, but it wasn't just any chocolate, it was a brand that contained peanut butter. Leo had a known allergy to peanuts. While not anaphylactic, it caused severe hives and vomiting. Travis knew this. We had spent hours in the emergency room when Leo was 2 because Travis had accidentally fed him a peanut butter cracker. "Here," Travis whispered, leaning in close, his voice barely picking up on the microphone. "Don't tell Mrs. Higgins. This is our little secret snack." He unwrapped the chocolate and tried to push it toward Leo's mouth. "No," Leo turned his head away. "It has peanuts, I can't eat it." "Just a little bit," Travis insisted, pressing the chocolate against Leo's closed lips. "Don't be a baby. A little bit won't hurt you. You need to build up your tolerance." "Stop," I yelled, banging my fist against the glass. Mrs. Higgins was already moving. She rushed into the room. "Mr. Miller, step away from the child." I was just giving him a treat. Travis stood up, holding his hands in the air. "God, everyone is so sensitive. He's a boy, he needs to learn to handle things." "He is allergic to peanuts," Mrs. Higgins shouted. "The visit is terminated. You are endangering the child." I ran into the room. Leo jumped off the chair, buried his face in my legs, and sobbed loudly. "He tried to make me eat it, Mommy," Leo cried. "I told him no." I picked Leo up and glared at Travis. "You are a monster," I spat. "You don't care if he gets sick. You just want control. You want to prove you can force him to do what you want." "He's fine," Travis sneered. "You're making him weak, Sarah, just like you." Security arrived to escort Travis out. As he was pulled away, he yelled back, "This isn't over, I'll get him back. I'll take him from you." I held my son tightly, breathing in the scent of his hair, feeling his little heart racing. At that moment, I knew legal steps weren't enough. Travis was dangerous because of his delusions. He would keep trying to hurt Leo to get to me. I needed to end this for good. After the peanut butter incident, the court suspended Travis's visitation rights pending a full psychological evaluation. I thought we were safe. I thought the system was finally working. But to a man who thought he was above the law, a court order was just a piece of paper. 2 weeks later, on a crisp Saturday afternoon, I took Leo to a park near my parents' house. It was a beautiful day. The leaves were golden, and the air smelled of wood smoke. Leo was climbing on the playground, laughing and acting like a normal, happy kid. I sat on a bench nearby with a coffee, finally letting my guard down. I shouldn't have. I noticed a figure in a hood walking quickly across the grass. He was wearing loose sweatpants and a dark hoodie pulled down low. His walk was aggressive and familiar. My stomach dropped. I recognized that stride. Leo, I stood up shouting, "Leo, come here right now." Leo looked at me confused, then he saw the man. "Daddy," Leo called out. Travis pulled back his hood. He looked terrible. His eyes were wild, his face unshaven and his skin pale. He looked like he hadn't slept in days. "Leo," Travis yelled, completely ignoring me. He lunged toward the playground. "Come with Daddy, we're leaving." No, I dropped my coffee and ran. "Travis, stop, there's an active order against you." Travis climbed over the playground barrier. Leo shrank back, terrified. "No, Daddy, I don't want to go." "Be quiet," Travis said, grabbing Leo's arm and pulling him so hard his feet left the ground. "You're coming with me. Your mother is turning you against me." "Let him go," I screamed, tackling Travis from behind. I am not a confrontational person. I had never been in a physical fight in my life, but in that moment I was a mother protecting her child. I scratched at his face and kicked at his legs. Travis roared, throwing me backward. I fell hard onto the gravel, scraping my palms, but I got right back up. "Help, call the police," I screamed to the other parents in the park. Travis was trying to drag Leo toward the parking lot. Leo was kicking and screaming, "Mommy, help." "You ungrateful little brat." Travis raised his hand, preparing to strike Leo. That action was his final, critical mistake. 3 fathers, large men who had been watching their own kids, saw what was happening. The moment Travis raised his hand, they moved. One father tackled Travis, slamming him to the ground. Another pinned his arms. Travis thrashed wildly, shouting obscenities. "Let me go, that's my son, he's my property," Travis screamed. Property, he called his own son property. I snatched Leo into my arms, holding him tight and covering his ears. We huddled on the ground, shaking, while the other fathers held Travis down until sirens echoed in the distance. When the police arrived, they didn't ask many questions. They saw the protective order in the system. They saw the bruises on Leo's arm. They saw the scrapes on my hands. They cuffed Travis face down in the dirt. When they pulled him up, his eyes were completely empty. The charm was gone. The arrogance was gone. There was only a hollow, frightening look left. "You'll never be happy," he spat at me, a trace of blood on his lip. "You're nothing without me." I stood up, holding my sobbing son. I looked him dead in the eye. "I was only nothing when I was with you," I said, my voice steady enough for him to hear. Now I'm free." They put him in the back of the police car. I watched them drive away, the lights flashing through the autumn trees. I sat back on the bench, rocking Leo. The adrenaline was fading, leaving a deep exhaustion in its place. But as I looked around at the concerned faces of the strangers who had helped us, I realized something. I wasn't alone. I had support, and I had a strength inside me I never knew existed. And the threat was finally contained. The wheels of justice turn slowly, but when they finally do, they are incredibly thorough. 3 months after the incident at the park, I stood in court one last time. This wasn't a temporary hearing. This was the final sentencing and divorce decree. Travis was led in wearing an orange jumpsuit. He had lost weight. Without the tanning, the hair products, and the lifestyle, he looked small and ordinary. He had pled guilty. His public defender had advised him there was no way out. The assault, the violation of the protective order, the forgery, the fraud, there was simply too much evidence. The judge looked at him with zero sympathy. "Mr. Miller," she said, "you have demonstrated a shocking pattern of manipulation, entitlement, and criminal behavior. You forged documents to steal your wife's property. You took from your own family, and worst of all, you traumatized your son, treating him as a pawn in your games." She cleared her throat and read the sentence. "For the charges of forgery and grand theft, you are sentenced to 3 years in state prison. For the charges of assault and violation of a protective order, you are sentenced to an additional 2 years, to be served consecutively." 5 years, he was going away for 5 years. "Furthermore," the judge continued, Sarah Jenkins is granted sole legal and physical custody of the minor child, Leo. Given the severity of the behavior and the clear danger you pose to the child, Mr. Miller's parental rights are hereby terminated. Terminated? It was a rare ruling, but the attempted abduction in broad daylight had sealed his fate. He didn't just lose visitation, he lost the title of father. Regarding assets, the judge turned to the financial settlement. The court awards the marital residence entirely to Ms. Jenkins. Mr. Miller is ordered to pay restitution in the amount of $50,000 plus interest for the stolen retirement funds, to be garnished from any future earnings. I knew I'd probably never see that money. Travis would likely never hold down a regular job again, but that was fine. It was the principle that mattered. Sarah, the judge said, looking directly at me, you are free. As the gavel came down, I didn't feel a surge of triumph. I felt a massive weight lift off my shoulders, a weight I hadn't even realized I'd been carrying for 10 years. Travis didn't look at me as he was led away. He kept his head down. No final insults, no last attempts at manipulation. He was entirely defeated. I walked out of the courthouse into the winter sunshine. Frank and my parents were waiting for me. Frank looked relieved, though sad. It was his son after all, but he gave me a hug. This is the right outcome, Frank whispered. He can't hurt anyone else now. Thank you, Frank, I said. Thank you for everything. I went home to my home. I had moved back into the house a month prior. It was hard at first, the memories were everywhere, but I started reclaiming it. I painted over those beige walls, the colour Travis had insisted on, and chose a bright, warm yellow. I turned Travis's home studio into a playroom for Leo, filled with space posters and Legos. I sold the expensive leather furniture Travis liked and bought a soft, comfortable velvet sofa. That night, after putting Leo to bed, I sat in my living room with a glass of wine, not the expensive kind Travis demanded, but a simple, sweet Moscato that I actually enjoyed. I looked at my bank account on my phone. The balance was lower than before. Legal fees are expensive, but every single dollar in there was mine. No secret withdrawals, no mysterious charges. I was safe, Leo was safe, the nightmare was over. Now, I just had to figure out who Sarah was when she wasn't fighting to survive. People say the best revenge is living well, but honestly, the best revenge is finding peace with yourself. The first year after the divorce was about healing. I had to quiet Travis's voice in my head. Every time I looked in the mirror, I heard him calling me names. Every time I ate bread, I heard him calling me a dumpster. I started seeing a therapist. Dr. Evans, a different specialist than the one Travis had seen, was wonderful. He targeted you because of your strength, Sarah, she told me. Narcissists don't target weak people. They target strong people because they want to feed off that strength. He didn't dislike you because you weren't enough. He disliked you because you had everything he couldn't have. That shift in perspective changed everything for me. I wasn't a victim. I was a survivor of a difficult situation. I started taking care of myself, not to please a man, but to please myself. I joined a hiking group. I wasn't the fastest, and I wasn't the thinnest on the trail, but I could climb a mountain. Standing at the top, breathing in the fresh air, I felt strong. My body wasn't a temple for someone else to judge. It was the vessel carrying me through my life. I received a promotion at work. Without Travis draining my energy and finances, my performance soared. I was named VP of Operations. I bought a new car, a practical, safe SUV for me and Leo. And Leo, he bloomed. Without the constant criticism and tension, his anxiety disappeared. The nightmares stopped. He joined a soccer team and my dad was his coach. Watching my dad teach Leo with patience, kindness and encouragement was incredibly healing for both of us. Leo was learning what real strength looked like. One Saturday morning, I ran into an old friend from the gym days, someone who used to be in Travis's circle. Sarah, she waved. Wow, you look amazing. Thank you, I smiled. I was wearing no makeup, just my hiking gear with my hair in a ponytail. I feel amazing. I heard about Travis, she said, lowering her voice. And what about Tiffany? Tiffany, I hadn't thought about her in months. Yeah, she tried to pivot to being a lifestyle coach, but the internet doesn't forget. She had to move back to her hometown in Idaho. Last I heard, she's working as a receptionist at a dental clinic. I smiled. It wasn't a malicious smile. It was just a sense of closure. And Travis, she asked, is he still serving his time? Yes, I said. He has 2 more years before he's eligible for parole. Well, she said, you won, you definitely won. Driving home, I thought about that. Did I win? I lost 10 years of my life. I lost my retirement savings. I lost my trust. But I gained something else. I gained a strong resolve. I gained the knowledge that I could face a painful betrayal and walk away with my head held high. I gained a relationship with my son built on truth and safety, not fear. I pulled into the driveway. The yellow house looked warm in the sun. My garden, which Travis never let me plant because he thought it was messy, was full of tulips. I didn't just win, I grew. Time is a funny thing. Sometimes it drags and sometimes you blink and 3 years have passed. Travis was paroled after serving 3.5 years. I was notified through the victim advocate system. I felt a brief moment of anxiety, but then I remembered the permanent protective order. Honestly, I was too busy to be afraid. I didn't see him for 6 months. I assumed he had moved away. Then on a Tuesday, I was at the grocery store. I was in a rush, picking up ingredients for Leo's birthday party. He was turning 12. I was pushing my cart toward my car, humming a song, when I heard a voice. Sarah. I froze. I recognized the voice, but it sounded different, raspy and weak. I turned around. Standing by the cart return was a man in a neon yellow vest with the store's logo. He was balding, had put on a significant amount of weight, and his face was lined with deep wrinkles. He looked 50, not 43. It was Travis. My breath caught for a second. The ghost of my past was standing right there, wrangling shopping carts in the rain. Travis, I said. My voice was surprisingly calm. He looked at me. I was wearing a tailored coat, holding the keys to my new car. I looked successful, healthy, and happy. He looked down at his shoes. You look good, Sarah. I am good, I said. How are you? I heard you got promoted, he muttered. That's cool. He shifted his weight, looking incredibly uncomfortable. He was pushing a line of carts. The man who used to yell at me if I bought the wrong brand of almond milk was now retrieving shopping carts for minimum wage. I'm trying to get back on my feet, he said, a hint of his old manipulative tone creeping in. It's hard. Nobody wants to hire someone with a record. I'm living in a halfway house. That sounds difficult, I said politely, showing no emotion. I was wondering. He looked up, his eyes searching mine for any sign of weakness. Do you think I could see him, just a photo? I don't have a photo for you. He was asking about Leo. I felt a flash of anger, but I pressed it down. No, Travis, I said, you lost that right. Please, Sarah, he begged, that familiar whiny tone returning. Don't be cold, I'm his dad, I'm struggling out here. Can't you just help me out? Maybe a little cash, just for a hot meal. The food at the house is terrible. There it was, he didn't actually want a photo of Leo. He wanted money. He wanted sympathy. He was still the same parasite, just hungrier. I reached into my purse. His eyes lit up. He thought he had a hold on me. He thought the old Sarah, the one who bought his affection, was still there. I pulled out my phones. I'm not giving you money, Travis, I said, but I will give you some advice. The manager is watching you from the window. If you keep bothering customers, you're going to lose this job too, and I'd hate to see you violate your parole by being unemployed. His face fell, his hope turning into a sneer. You're a cold-hearted person, you know that. Yes, I smiled. I learned from the best. I opened my trunk, loaded my groceries, and got into my car. As I backed out, I saw him angrily pushing the carts, muttering to himself. He looked so small and insignificant. I drove away without looking in my rearview mirror. I didn't need to. He was in my past, and my future was waiting for me at home, ready to blow out 12 candles. Leo is 12 now. He's almost as tall as I am, with my eyes and my dad's gentle nature. Last night on Christmas Eve, we sat around the dining table. The house was full. My parents were there, older but still full of life. Frank was there too. After Linda passed away 2 years ago, Frank became a regular part of our lives. He comes to every one of Leo's games. He finally stood up for himself, and in doing so, he gained a family. There was someone else at the table too. Mark. I met Mark 3 years ago. He's an architect, quiet, steady, and kind. He doesn't have a perfect fitness routine, and he doesn't post on social media, but he remembers how I like my coffee, fixes things around the house without being asked, and loves Leo like his own. Mark raised his glass. To Sarah, thank you for a wonderful dinner and for being the rock of this family. I blushed. To us, I said. We ate, laughed, and shared stories. There was no tension, no walking on eggshells, and no fear of saying the wrong thing and triggering an outburst. After dinner, while Mark and Leo volunteered to do the dishes, Frank and I sat by the fireplace. "Have you heard anything about him?" Frank asked quietly. I nodded. I have. Travis had violated his parole again, this time on a substance charge. He was back inside for a while. He had burned every bridge. Even his old gym friends had moved on. In our small town, he had become a cautionary tale. "I'm sorry, Sarah," Frank said, "for everything he put you through." "Don't be," I said, looking at the fire. "It made me who I am, Frank. I wouldn't be here without going through that." I looked toward the kitchen. Leo was laughing at a terrible joke Mark had made. He was happy, healthy, and safe. That was my victory. I thought about the woman I was 10 years ago, the one shivering in the kitchen, preparing garlic bread while her husband entertained his ex. I wanted to reach back through time and give her a hug. I wanted to tell her, "Pack your bags, leave. It's going to be incredibly hard, but it will be worth every single second." I walked into the kitchen and put my arms around Mark from behind. He turned and kissed my forehead. "Everything okay?" he asked. "Everything is perfect," I said. And it really was. Not because it was a fairy tale, but because it was real. It was mine, built piece by piece from the ground up after the storm. I don't share this story just to vent. I share it to reach out to anyone who feels stuck. I know there are women out there right now, sitting in their cars crying or staring at a bank account that doesn't add up, shrinking themselves to fit into the tiny space a toxic partner has left for them. I know the fear of being alone, the fear of financial ruin, the fear of breaking up a home. But let me tell you, you aren't breaking up a home. You are saving yourself, and if you have children, you are saving them too. Travis called me damaged goods because of my age. He tried to make me feel like my time was up. But life after 40 is incredible. I have more confidence, more resources, and more peace of mind than I ever did in my 20s. Don't let anyone tell you your value depends on your youth or your utility to them. Your value is inherent. If you are experiencing financial exploitation, start gathering your evidence. If you are being manipulated, trust your gut. If you are being disrespected, leave the table. It won't be easy. There will be lonely nights, stressful legal battles, and people who choose to believe the lies. But one day you will be walking through a grocery store, you'll see the ghost of your past, and you'll realize it has absolutely no power over you anymore. You'll get into your own car, drive to your own home, and live your own life. My name is Sarah. I was once a victim. Now I am free. Thank you for listening to my story. If this spoke to you, if you've ever had to stand up for your dignity, or if you just believe in accountability, please do me a favor. Hit that like button. It helps this story reach more people who might need to hear it. And please subscribe to the channel. We're building a community here, a supportive network of survivors and strong individuals. If you made it all the way to the end, leave a comment saying I am strong. I read the comments and I want to know who is standing with me. Until next time, take care of yourselves. You deserve the best. Sarah's journey reminds us of a profound truth. Resilience is forged in the face of adversity. Her story isn't just about leaving a toxic relationship. It's about reclaiming her identity, her peace, and her power. It teaches us that no matter how deep the wounds, we have the strength to heal, rebuild, and rise stronger than before. At its core, this is a story about self-worth. It's a reminder that our value is not defined by how others treat us. Sarah's courage to walk away, her determination to protect her son, and her ability to rebuild her life show that freedom and happiness are worth every challenge. It stands as a testament to the power of self-love and the importance of standing firm against manipulation. What about you? What did you take away from Sarah's journey? Share your thoughts below, or if you found her story inspiring, simply leave a comment saying good. Let's continue to support and empower one another because we are always stronger together.